Hello and welcome to the Life Burst Podcast. Yes, it's episode 27.
Ooh.
Episode 27. We're talking about the fourth Wixoss Ceremony in
Yes,
the
we
US.
are. Sorry that this is coming out a little late. Our ceremony day was particularly busy.
Yes.
So we appreciate you guys hanging on board for this ceremony arc podcast.
Yeah, so you get a Wednesday video. We're also going to put out a Sunday video, but you'll get a Wednesday video for this one for sure now.
Ooh.
I know.
You guys are so special selectors.
Such a delayed video. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the ceremony, our experiences at the ceremony, what we saw there. I actually haven't looked at the top 8 yet either. I just we did so much Wixoss that I was like, cool, let's take a breath.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be our Sunday podcast, is talking about the raw numbers.
Yeah, maybe the meta, what we think things will settle into. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
let us know what you guys want to see in the comment section down below. Comment, like, subscribe.
Yeah, and as far as the comment of the week, we had some comments on some of our other videos talking about the this Piedmon combo that you can do in Wixoss. And a lot of people wanted us to discuss it. And the cool thing was, in testing, I ran against the Piedmon combo twice the week before the ceremony. And then I actually played it twice in the ceremony. So I have very educated opinions, I think, on it now.
Educated.
And we'll talk more about it when we get into the video. It's like the actual ceremony itself. But for now, let's just talk some base stuff. Tiffany, how'd you do?
I did okay, actually. This is the best that I have done in the ceremonies, which makes me very happy because I was playing my favorite team anyways.
Which was? What were you playing?
I was playing Ancient Surprise as a surprise to no one. What about you?
I was playing X, and my reasoning for playing X was I had no clue what the field was gonna play, and so I chose to play something that I thought had a pretty even win rate across the entire field. Honestly, looking back on it, I kind of wish I played Deus a little bit more, but I liked X. I liked X a lot. I think X is I still think it's probably the best deck in the meta, even though it's it had it was so weird. The meta was very, very wacky on this ceremony, just like I thought it would be. And there was a lot of everything that showed up. But I got what place did you get, by the way? Did you announce it?
I got 45th.
Yeah, that's better than you've done before.
Yeah, it's way better than I've done before. I think the best that I did before this was something like 63.
Yeah.
And that was when they weren't prizing top 64.
Yeah.
So I broke top 64.
You were very close we'll go over it more when we talk about your stuff. You were very close.
Yeah, I was
to
super
top 32.
close. But yeah, I ended up going 4 wins, 3 loss.
Yeah, I ended up 5-2. I top 16'd. I lost to the person who I think took first place, if I remember correctly, and I lost to a person who took 8th place. So yeah, so my tiebreakers were very good because of that. It was a crawl for me the whole time. Round 1, I was matched up against a person who I kind of knew, and was like, crap, it's just going to be one of those ones where, like, I have no easy games. Like, every round was difficult. They actually paired round 2, me against one of our Atlanta locals, and they were always like, oh, look at them. They're trying to sabotage Atlanta here.
Notable for you.
Yeah. And I made 2 big mistakes in my matches. Honestly, I probably could have done a 7-0 run if I didn't make either of those mistakes. But they were late. That happens when you're playing a new deck and you didn't have exactly the most amount of tournament practice you wanted. But look, I'm happy with my top 16.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with where I was able to get. I told you guys in the last podcast I was really nervous because I knew that I wasn't able to put as much time into practicing as I wanted to. But I believed in the heart of the cards, and I also believed in myself. I feel like I'm a decent Wixoss player, and that's how I did. I did better than I normally do, and I think with a little bit more practice, I might actually be able to break into 5 wins.
Yeah,
which would be the next goal.
I want to say I'm proud of you. I didn't do very much to help you get to where you are. Like we practiced a bit, But really, you practice the deck a lot, playing with a lot of other people as well, not just me. So you became very proficient with your deck, right?
Yeah. I mean, I also really like the way it was built. Like, it's a difficult deck to kind of understand because I feel like you have to come at it from multiple angles, but I like started seeing the matrix of the deck, and I think we've talked about this before, where when you play a deck enough times, like it almost doesn't matter what your opponent's doing because I'm like reading the ancient alchemy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Let us know in the comment section down below if you've ever kind of gotten to that point with a deck that you've been playing with. It doesn't even have to be Wixoss. It could be like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh or something. But for those of you that have experienced this, you know what I'm talking about. Let us know in the comments.
And you know, you're right. Like, I sort of got there with X. I should have settled on X sooner, and then I think I probably could have gotten top 8, maybe even top 4. Because I became really good at knowing just stupid small things with the deck, right? Like, something I can say here is I'm looking... I took a note from Tiffany here, and I wrote down a few match things at the end.
Look at you with your
know.
note page.
Not a ton, just a little bit. And I can actually happily say I never lost a game to a line disrespect. Period.
No disrespected?
Yeah, no, I maneuvered every single game that I was up against a line disrespect so that I would win those games. And that's
nice.
that's saying something. Line disrespect is very good against aggro decks. And that's like...
It is.
But that's like me again seeing the Matrix now, being like,
Yeah.
oh, I know where this is going. I can engineer the flow of the game. It's the pivotal turn. How many enter do you have? 4. Yeah, you can't beat me.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got to that point in a couple of my games as well, but, we'll get into that. Would you like to summarize your tourney arc?
Sure.
Give us a story.
So guys, I said this in the last podcast. I really was trying to get first place. And I wasn't putting so much pressure on myself that I was going to melt down. I can happily say that my journey from the last time we talked was that I put a lot of pressure on myself to be good, but I also didn't kill myself over it. And that's why you're not seeing me be utterly frustrated and tearing my hair off my head right now, being that I got top 16. I would have liked to gotten better. I would have liked to have 6-1 at least, right? Like, that would have made me feel good. I want a Xeno cluster. But I'm happy with where I got. And it's just I have consistency too. I've been doing very well in most ceremonies. Like, I've been consistently getting good results.
Well, you've also been playing in a lot of like loot card tournaments as well as the locals, and
yeah,
you have been a consistent player across all of those.
I think I need to play more loot card tournaments. Like, I missed them because we just had stuff.
We just had stuff.
Couldn't really do.
You guys know how it is.
You couldn't really do the loot card tournaments. I got my cards really late. Like,
yeah.
I waited for prices to drop a little bit, so I felt weird if I joined the loot card tournament and I didn't have the actual cards I wanted to use. But yeah, no, I should have practiced a little bit more, and I think with a little bit more practice, especially now that the next ceremony, I won't have to worry about picking up a whole new deck completely again. Should be good. I'm probably gonna settle into Deus Aggro just because I just want to play it.
Yeah, sure. That's reason enough, really.
But yeah, my matches. Let's see. I had a Deus combo deck as my match number 1, and that's the combo we're gonna talk about in a bit. I had a Madoka aggro from my local in Atlanta. And then I had it was a line version 2 that I lost to. Feel kind of bad. I was pretty close to that one, winning that one. Then I played against a viewer in Madoka midrange in my match number 4. He was like, "You might recognize the deck," and I was like, "Is it mine? Because I know the tricks then."
Yeah.
And then I played against an Umir Tempo deck, which was cool. I lost to it. Again, very close match. And then my match 6 was actually one of the guys who I played. He's a viewer as well. His name's Jacob. Played him a little bit in our testing stuff, and he was on X. And then I played against a Deus mid-range deck again. This one also had the combo. So I played in my final round of the day, Deus mid-range combo, and I played Deus mid-range combo as my first round of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the things that I learned was that there's... this is going to be my running theme. And that is, the meta is a lot more balanced than I think most people think.
Mm-hmm.
X is probably the best deck, but by like 2%.
Mm.
And
we're getting into like Olympic fractions.
Right. And if we talk about how the right life bursts can swing a game maybe 5% in either direction, that changes the matchup very closely, right? Like, you can play a Tamago control deck and just really swing the matchup there, because it's like that 5% matters a lot when we're talking about how one deck might be favored by 2%. Suddenly it's not favored anymore.
Mm.
So that really is where we're at with this meta, I think, is that, like, anything that's really viable, not anything is really viable, but there's a lot that's viable right now.
Oh yeah, the viable pool has opened up considerably.
Yeah.
Like, whereas before we had like optimal decks in like the smaller upper percentages,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had viable, which was like kind of medium, and then everything down below was just like a
Stuff.
wild west.
Yeah.
It was just like stuff like that people were throwing together, which is all totally fine. But now I feel like we have like a very small percentage of optimal decks.
Yeah.
But the viables are kind of, well, first of all, there's so many of them, and I feel like the viable is starting to close that gap between viable and optimal, because there's such a wide variety of things that just something might come up out of the blue and it beats optimal.
Yeah. I mean, look, the fact of
And
the matter
also,
is...
like, and players are now becoming more experienced, too, the longer the game's been out.
Right. So X actually has two pretty major weaknesses that people can exploit. One is hyper aggro. If you just race it, you have a 50% chance of beating it.
That's really... And that's for X?
Against X, yeah.
That's really interesting, because you would think that X would be the most aggro.
No, it's not. It is a hair slower than, like, for example, Hirana is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that can do it is tempo decks can beat it. And tempo decks, I'm saying, like, if they push a little bit on your opponent's resources, so like maybe they enter deny or enter burn or make them discard cards, but they also present a clock at the same time, then they'll win. They will win that game as well. So Madoka 2.0 actually has a very favorable matchup against X. It might have worse matchups against other things, but it has a really good matchup against X. So, like, for example, the matches I lost, I was enter denied or card restricted, right? Umir made me discard cards, and actually enter denied me as well by doing its, like, once a game, deny me some enter. And same thing with the Lion deck. The Lion deck, Lion denied me some enter, and then also, because there was a lot of bounce in the deck, it was a mono white deck. And there was also White Heaven. White Heaven is just a hell of a card.
It's a hell of a card.
It's a hell of a card, man.
Can you read it, or can you, like, encyclopedia?
Yeah. It's three enter. One of those has to be white. You've got to play 2 white Elrigs, and it bounces 1 signature to your hand and puts 1 in your trash. So enter denies 2 enter, and then it also opens up 2 lanes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a great card. It's the only reason why mono white aggro could be a good thing right now. And I mean, we said that in our ones to watch or whatever, our top 10. We number 1 was White Heaven. But yeah, as far as with X, I won't go super into it anymore, because I think there's a fair chance that we're going to be interviewing one of the top X players from that ceremony.
Ooh, subscribe. Looking forward to it.
But there is... Xenocluster is a thing that I had to worry about, but I worked around. It was good against me whenever anyone played Xenocluster. But it was a thing that I could work around, right? Like, if a lot of the times I'd actually bait for Xenocluster early, and if they did nothing, cool, I deprive them enter, and then later down the line, if they still haven't shown the Xenocluster, I just stopped enter burning them. And then deprived them the chance of using Xenocluster.
Yeah.
Right? So I got in a few licks, and I did not get greedy with it.
Right.
If they use Xenocluster early, I know that they're going to be able to Lion Disrespect or Lion Clap. And, or sorry, not Lion Clap, Madoka Clap.
Potato.
And then I was able to be like, okay, cool, I'll just make sure you only ever have 4 enter to work with. I can't strip you down to 0 because you Xenoclustered, but I can stop your line from being perfect. Realistically, that's how I got every single win on this so far. The only games I lost to were the ones that didn't have Lion Disrespect in them.
Interesting.
Yeah, those were the ones that aggroed me down. The only aggro deck, yeah. Even the Madoka aggro deck was difficult from our locals, but we played literally the day before, and I saw the flow and was able to work around what I needed to. Anyway, he still gave me a run for his money. It was
this is why you play with friends.
But yeah, no, that's basically my run in a nutshell. We'll talk more about the combo after you talk about your run. Go for it.
Okay. Like I said, it was pretty good. I do feel really comfortable in Ancient Surprise. And I think I'm going to be keeping on playing this deck for a while. So here's my 1 through 7 sort of matchups. The first one was against a Tamago Center with a Lion Madoka assist. That one was brutal. First of all, I saw it, I never even saw it coming, but the reason why it was so tough on me is because it enter denied me in 2 different ways. Let me see. Because it had, where was it? Sorry, I'm rereading my notes.
You're good. It had a bunch of freeze things like royal.
Oh yeah,
royal blue
that's
and
what it
waffle
was.
ice.
Here it is. Here's the note. It's the reason why it was hard is because it's a freeze discard deck, the way that they had set it up, and I couldn't open enough lanes or keep cards in my hand. And the reason why that's a problem is because the way that we've built Ancient Surprise is that it's a no spell deck. So, yeah, I could keep drawing and I'm guaranteed to get a Signy, like something to fill a lane. But if I just have no hand and I can't open up their side of the field at all, then I'm just walling my life away. Like, it was a very slow game. Like, we almost went to double loss because of it. So that one was really frustrating. The second game aside from that, I feel like I played to the best of my ability. Like, I don't think I necessarily made any significant mistakes with that. It's just I was unprepared for that matchup, and, it happens. Whatever, I lost the game. Fine. The second matchup was really fun because it was an Ancient Surprise mirror, and I gotta tell you, I really love playing against, mirror decks, because first of all, you don't have to explain anything to the other person. I don't have to explain how Worlds Reverse works, or how Ott's once a game ability works, or why I have to organize my enter in a specific way. I don't have to explain any of that. Games like that I think are really nice. But at the same time, there's a lot of pressure, because then you're really okay, who's the better Ancient Surprise player? It's going down, you know what I mean? I ended up winning that game.
The whole lead up is to basically be who's the better ancient? It's me.
It's me.
I'm the Ancient Surprise.
It's me. I did have a misplay with that. I played Mirai Red when it wasn't necessary, and I ended up spending Enter for no reason. That's the note that I made with that one, or that I wrote down. The third matchup was against a classic DXM deck with fellow selector Alir. Alir, thank you so much for playing me at the ceremony. I enjoyed it. I feel like I was able to play a quote-unquote perfect game. I don't think I made any sort of significant mistakes. Even if I won, you can still make misplays, and I do try and take notes of that. But in this match, I feel like I played a very close to perfect game. The thing that I think helped me the most is that at the last 2 turns or whatever, I pumped my field to above 13k, so it prevented any sort of significant removal, which actually ended up completely stopping Machina Smash.
Yep.
Which felt very good.
Yeah, you were using amino acid, right?
Yeah, I think I was using amino acid in that lineup.
Yeah, it is worth noting that Ancient Surprise has a lot more draw power than you think it would be. Just between the blue and it has all the towel looting effects, you can get to your attack cards pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that was another win under the belt. Round 4 was another win. I went up against a Deuce Center with an X and Ange assist. So that was another like interesting dream team. It was a really, really close game. Successfully triggered the ability as I did with the previous game. This one, I had to dance around a lot. Because there was a steampunk on the field, as well as another card that had a soul attached to it, and I'm sorry I couldn't quite catch the card, but steampunk and souls from like Deus, sorry, from Deus like really messed me up. So I ended up playing more mid-range to try and just like maximize my turns as much as I could.
It was probably the right answer.
Yeah, that one was just tough because it was a big old head scratcher. So, like, halfway through the game, I was like, hold on, I really have to think out my turns. I'm going to be playing a little slow. Because sometimes, like, the order of operations really starts mattering when you're getting into, like, everything's got, like, a trigger. So
you maybe have to think a couple turns ahead.
Yeah, you kind of have to think a couple turns ahead, especially with Ancient Surprise, where Ancient Surprise, the way that we built it, or our deck, our brew of it, it's not aggro, it's not mid-range, it's not tempo, it's not control, it's a gas pedal.
Yeah.
It's all of those things, and it's not. So each turn, because of the way that Worlds Reverse works, each turn you can kind of like switch up your speed a little bit. So there were a couple of these games that I kind of had to like, you know, ease up off the gas and then go full in. So that's one of the reasons why I love it.
And you know, one of the things that we did before you went into your ceremony was we actually played every matchup once, right? Just like once. We didn't do a ton.
Yeah.
But we were like, before we started the game, we said, what does this deck that you're about to face do, right? It's a discard deck. Oh, it's a control deck. Oh, it's an aggro deck. And then we say, all right, how do we fight against an aggro deck as Ancient Surprise, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of crafted a game plan out, and then we saw that game plan from turn 1 to turn 4, right? Like, using that guideline, like you said, that gas pedal, that accelerant, and we either eased it off or went hard on it, you know, depending on what we were thinking about playing. And because we were long-term planning like that, we had sort of an idea, and you're not wrong to say that you correctly probably assumed this is either a mid-range or a control deck. Let me go ahead and attack it as if it were, and then I'm gonna have to go into a long game so I don't overextend myself, right? When you don't know what your opponent's deck is specifically going to do to counter you, knowing what your deck does in general situations can really help turn those tides.
And I think that's going to be really important for the meta going forward, because as I'm like reading off all of these teams that I went up against, you'll notice that like almost none of them are the same unless somebody is playing a team like Ancient Surprise or Classic DXM. All the rest of them are different. So in my opinion, going forward, I think people's best course of action is to know your deck inside out. Know what you like to play. It's fine to like, you know, make adjustments as you go along, but you know that thing inside out, and you know what everybody else's assists do and their costs. Like that's gonna be your best bet moving forward, which I think really would have helped me if I had like taken a lot more time to do that. But I'm still happy with the results. So round 4 was another win for me. Before
you go into round 5, let me just point out that you lost round 1.
I did.
And then came back from it.
Comeback tour.
Well, that takes a lot of mental fortitude. Okay, because taking an early loss you can snowball.
Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna be talking about like competitive stress and stuff, taking a first game loss, I was like, okay, I kind of thought this might happen.
Yeah.
You know, and then you were like, no, don't even worry about it. Like, you can come back from this. You've got like 6 games left. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, so that is really hard, but you just gotta pull yourself up out of the mud. So yeah, going into round 5, this was actually a really interesting game for me because I had to do some really funky stuff. So I was going up against Center Tamago with a Deus? Sorry, y'all.
Think about like an altar has a dais. That's how I did it.
What is a dais in an altar?
It's what you read off of. Like, you put the book down, open it up.
Isn't that called a podium?
I think it's also, you can call it dais.
All right, so it's a podium X assist. Anyways, it's a dais X assist for Tamago. Let's see. So well, first of all, I triggered Ott's once a game ability successfully, which has been one of the biggest like deciding factors. Obviously, I mean it's a field wipe, but
a non-targeted field wipe. That's good in this meta right now.
Yes, actually, that helped a lot. I think against one of my DXM matches that had 2 Exias on the field. Mm-hmm. And I did Ots once a game, and because it doesn't target Exia, mm-hmm. Goodbye Exia, none of your triggers matter.
Exia's, if I can take 1 second, Exia is a crazy card.
It is crazy.
I actually called a judge on myself in the last round because my opponent was like, yeah, you have a hair on the field, it technically targets, and I was like, but I didn't pay red. And he was like, yeah, the conditions were met, so even though you didn't pay red, and even though it says you may pay red, period, if you do, then target one of these things. Even though that's the English for it, right? Mm-hmm. Technically, you take that entire chunk. We called the judge in Neat, who, by the way, Neat's a great... You can talk to him on Discord. You can always get some rulings from him on the card game server. Technically, I had to target with my Hera, even though it doesn't seem like you would, even though I didn't pay red. Also, but it wouldn't have changed anything because his field had a level 3 out, a level 3 out, that were all like above 5,000 power. And the level 1 that he had out was a Zhao Yun, which is untargetable because it had Shadow, right? So then in that scenario, Hera doesn't target. So it's like this crazy thing that if you just... End of the day, guys, if you see an Exia on the other side of the field, just don't do anything. Anything that says target. It'll screw you over.
Yeah, that was lessons learned in the early game, and then I was like, oh wait, this doesn't target. That was round 3. For round 5 though, in the beginning I had a little bit of trouble with Enter because for some reason I just wasn't pulling enough green Enter to build it up in my Enter zone.
Sure.
So it ended up being a lot of like blues and reds, which I did end up fixing later, but it was a little bit of a struggle in the beginning. I also could have grown, or no, I grew my Tawil like 1 turn too late. I really should have maybe grown it a little bit earlier to prevent some extra damage. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it was Tawil level 1, and I could have just grown it off the bat, and I probably should have. But the fun thing happened at the very last turn, which was I only had Osagetsune and Influindi on the field.
Yep.
There was no third Signy, and my opponent had 3 Signy on their field.
Yep.
With, I think, 1 to 2... It was 1 life cloth left. Mm-hmm. So I had to do 2 damage to win this game, otherwise I was going to lose my following game. So what I managed to do was I managed to pay for both of their removal costs, which Osagetsune is 1 green, 1 anything. That's pretty easy to pay for. But Influendi's removal is 3 green, 3 anything. So that's 8 Enter I had to have in my Enter zone. And the reason why I had to pay for both is because Influendi removes anything 10,000 or less, and Osagetsune removes 12,000 or more.
Yeah.
So I couldn't use Influendi for all of the damage I needed because of the placement on the field.
Yeah.
So I went all in, and I swiped up my entire Enter, and I was like, swing for win.
I remember when you were playing that out, because I was trying not to hover around your shoulder when I got out of my game, so I was on the couch, and you said Harmony for blue, and I went, the hell is she harmoning for blue? There's nothing in the deck that harmonies for blue. I was like, because we never use Influendi as a Signy. It is always
It's in the
An
Enter
Enter.
zone. It's supposed to be in the Enter zone because it's a unique
Venom.
Yeah, it's Venom, so it's a unique tribal type, but
And
we have one card that harmonies.
and the funny thing about the Influence D is sometimes Influence D works where Ott's thing won't work. Sometimes you don't get to 7. And you can instead trigger Influence D for 6.
It does remove 2,
Yeah.
is the thing.
And sometimes you can miss on the tribal thing, right? You've got like 7 enter, but 2 of them are the same tribe, you know? And then Influence D can work in that scenario too.
Yeah.
Also, it's worth mentioning that that's another way to enter Deprive if you need to, right? When you do the board wipe, you put all of their stuff in their enter, and it happens during main phase timing. This happens during attack phase timing. You can actually get around some assists by doing that.
Yeah, because it'll be beyond the defense stage.
My hat's off to you. You thought creatively on your out for that.
I thought desperately on that one. I was like, I have to win this right now. Oh God. I actually thought I miscounted. I thought I was really gonna fall on my face on that one because I thought I had like maybe one less enter, but then it was all good. So that was another game that I actually ended up falling back into mid-range for because again I was like dancing around a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So anytime I like am really having a troublesome time getting around the Signy on my opponent's field, I just fall back into mid-range and then it seems to work its best for that. Going into round 6, went up against another classic DXM. I left my opponent with 2 life cloth at the end, but ended up losing to a double assassin. One of the things that I could have done better is I really should have held on to my second Umer grow, which is Umer down. I really should have held on to that beyond turn 3.
Yeah.
Because that's when that starts becoming, like, those are the most desperate, swings on the opponent's attack phase, and that's when a lot of people start slowing down, so that's when you need your heaviest defense.
Yeah.
So I ended up growing that like 2 turns too early. And let's see.
Last round.
Yeah. So with the last round, wait, what was the one other thing I wanted to say with that? I don't remember. It'll come back to me later. So with last round, I went up against, so now we're at this point, we are at 4 wins and 2 losses, right? So we're at the last round. I have a chance to break top 32 if I get this last win.
Which would have been a jump. I mean, going from like 63rd to 32 is a
it would have been
jump.
solid. So I ended up going against a Harana center with a Madoka and Machina assist, which is an interesting setup. So I only have one note for this game.
Oh, she left the table.
I forgot to grow to level 3! I forgot to grow!
Yeah, it happens. I'm impressed you managed to peek the microphone from like 10 feet away.
I'm that mad about it still. I'm that mad. I'm truly that mad about it still because and this is how I know. This is why I'm so mad at myself. I forgot to grow to level 3, so I had to stick with level 2, right? And I know I would have won that game because even growing 1 turn late, I still got my opponent down to 0 life cloth before they finished me off.
Yeah.
If I had grown and I was able to activate my once a game ability a turn earlier, I would have won. And I'm mad. And you know what? I'm actually going to be proud of myself because that is the only game that genuinely makes me upset. The other ones, I'm like, I really did play to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
And I just lost. That's it. There's no other like emotional attachment to it other than I just lost, and that's fine.
And then, huge leaps and bounds because I remember talked about how on one of your games in like the first ceremony, you just didn't exactly know what a card did that was in front of you, and there was like a way out of it, and like you were like beating yourself up over it. You're like, it was like in one of your like round 4s or something, and you lost that one. Here, you managed to go the whole way and only make a mistake at the very end. Like, that's good. And it often, and I will admit this, that my attitude is that I've already won the tournament as long as I don't make any mistakes, as long as I don't mess up what I'm doing, right? Like, I've done all the prep work. I should be good enough that as long as I follow all of the steps that I would normally follow, I should be able to win these tournaments. That's just where my confidence comes from. It's not like this for everybody.
Yeah.
But, and a lot of it comes from my deck building too, because like I'm very proud of my deck building. One of the things that I need to be better at now is playing the actual game, and not just relying on my deck building strength. And so what I'm getting at here is that like, you did do the functions. You followed the steps. You did your best to suss out whatever it was. You got 6.5 games under you before the mistake hit you. 7's a long tournament arc, you know?
I mean, it just...
But the fact that you were able to get to 6.5 instead of like 2.5, kudos to you. You're growing.
Yeah, I'm growing.
Yeah.
I've paid my 2 enter, even though I paid it a turn late. So, but that's my tournament arc. At the end of the day, I am still very happy with the Ancient Surprise deck. I really like the way it plays. I'm going to keep on playing it, and we'll see what the new like sets that come out. They're not going to be coming out for a while. Yeah, so we've got some time before the new sets like drop. And we'll see if I make any like updates to the deck beyond that. But I'm very happy with it.
We will.
We stand.
Now that you're starting to see the Matrix in that deck, like that's when the real tuning of the deck starts. You'd be like, you know what? If I have one less of this effect and one more of this effect, it's like a minute percent that it changes, and you're like, oh, it's so much better now. You know, like when you get to those fractions, that's when it starts being like, oh yeah, I know what's going on.
Yeah, I really started seeing the Matrix when I was like, you know, if I never play 2 of the same card on my field, I'm guaranteed to get unique enter with each vanish.
Yeah. I was seeing you everything was clicking into place. Like I was genuinely a little worried for you. Because
oh, I forgot about that one game. Go ahead.
But the minute I looked over and I looked at your field and you had an amino acid out and you looked at your 3000, your level 1 3000 Signy. You gave it the 5,000 because of amino acid, and then you gave it another 5,000 because of Ott to turn it to 13, and then it flipped a life burst over that was destroy negative 8,000 or less. I was like, no, she got it.
Yeah.
She looked at what her opponent was doing and was like, I know a way around this, and then denied it, you know?
Did I not make a note for what that game was? There was one other game I had that it was like the last turn, and I knew that I was going to win because I had like an empty field, and I knew I was going to win because I still had not grown my level 2 Tallwill or my level 2 Umar, and I had the enter to pay for both.
You had the enter +1. I remember that too. +1 because if they played their Kentucky or their Wingull to burn your enter, I still
was going to be fine. Exactly. So with growing them both, I mean, it was a bold move, don't get me wrong, but with growing them both, I was able to negate all 3 damages that were going to be coming my way.
Yeah.
And then I think I had a guard in my hand or something.
Yeah. You knew...
I ended up surviving that, and then because I was able to remove one of their lanes, and then I was probably going to get some sort of removal in my next one, I was just like, sure, let's go all in, and then I was able to swing for the win.
Yeah.
That was another...
That's what happens when you start getting comfortable with the deck.
What round that was. Anyways, but that's my tourney arc.
Yeah.
I'm not mad. It hurt my throat a little bit, screaming about not forgetting to grow. But it's fine.
Literally happens to all of us.
It literally happens to everybody.
So happened on round 1 for one of our locals.
Oh.
Yeah, that stunk. I got rules nitpicky at my last round, by the way. Just to be clear here.
Yeah.
Someone didn't pay for the harmony cost, and I know I'm the guy who didn't pay for a harmony cost. I got a judge called on me when I was around like 2 in that one ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
I pointed it out after the fact because I was like, yeah, sorry, we're now in attack phase. You didn't down your Elrig, so I've gotta say you probably need to down your thing here. It would have changed the game math maybe. And I was playing for keeps at round 7 at that point.
Oh yeah.
But it is round 7. It's late into the tournament. That's
yeah. You should kind of know.
That's where you shouldn't be making mistakes and where you should be calling out mistakes. Yeah. So it's the flip end of yours.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't mad at him.
No.
I was totally on board with it because at that point I had already put a Signy on the field and had paid for an effect, and then I was like, oh crap, I forgot to grow, and he was like, yeah, you did, and you've already put down Signy, so I can't let you go back. And I was like, I totally understand.
You don't make those mistakes again. You make the mistakes once like that in a high-end event, and you're like, I'm never making that mistake.
Yeah, again. I'll never make that mistake
I will tell you that I harmony wonderfully now. Every time.
Beautiful.
I'm a beautiful harmonier. And so, I mean, when he called me out for the Hera, even though we didn't exactly know how the Hera was going to affect the match and it ended up not affecting the match at all, I was thrilled. Because I was like, I did not know this rule. I do not want to be blown out in round 7 anymore about this type of thing. Mm-hmm. But hey, let's go into bonus rounds here. Oh, actually, before we do, overall, how do you feel about your ceremony?
I think it was good. I still wish that we could have ceremonies in person. Hopefully that'll be in the works sometime in the future. But I think it was really good. I think the thing that helped me the most was deciding on a deck early and just playing it and committing to it.
Yep.
And I think what helped me most during the ceremony is I respectfully requested all of my opponents to fully talk out each of their turns. Mm-hmm. And that helps a lot when you can't easily read the cards on your opponent's side of the field.
The shiny.
Yeah,
lighting,
like sometimes they're
cans.
sometimes they're shiny, sometimes they have glares, sometimes it's not quite in focus, sometimes you're just unfamiliar with a card and you just need to know. And I think that was really helpful for me, but I think it was also helpful for them because I did the same. Mm-hmm. And because of that, there was a lot more clear communication, as well as it was a lot easier for me to keep track of my turn, except that one time that I didn't talk out, now I'm going to grow. Like, that was the one time I didn't do it, and then, of course, I missed it.
It's one of the reasons why I talk everything out, too, is just so that way I don't miss anything.
Yeah. How about you?
It was good. I will say that I made some major... It is good to know that I played my worst and still got top 16. I mean, like, that's... I'm not trying to be...
You felt like you played your worst?
I felt like I didn't play my greatest. I wish I took a note out of your book and settled on my deck sooner. And I wish I just understood that Wixoss is a little bit more of a swingy game, and instead of trying to focus so hard on meta stuff, I focused a little bit more on just getting good. Mm-hmm. And
get good.
Yeah. And so I felt like I was a little unprepared, right? Nova, I didn't pick Nova because it was the best deck in the format, although I did think it was the best deck in the format at the end of that one. I just got good at it, and I performed admirably, and that's how I got my 5th place. But it's a level up for me to know that I can take on a competitive event, keep my happy-go-lucky personality, take some losses, and still be perfectly fine with where I ended up. It's just a growth moment for me as a player. Mm-hmm. And I plan to continue that. I'll play a little harder next time. I will practice a little harder, and I will settle on deck sooner, and I think that will change some of my results. Yeah. That's my hope.
All right. What now? Do you want to talk about that combo?
Yeah, let's talk about that combo. Okay, guys, so...
the combo you've all been waiting for, the Piedmon combo.
Yeah. So I know we have a lot of people who just listen to the podcast when they're on the road, so I'm going to read this out, too. But it's going to be on the screen in case you guys need to take a quick look.
Please drive safely.
Pull over. This is a weird combo, okay? Because it doesn't really make much sense when you read the cards out verbatim. You have to see them kind of in play in order for this to make sense.
Yeah.
But so it's a 4-card combo. I'm already not thrilled with the idea that it's a 4-card combo. But
that's quite a lot for Wixoss.
But some of the cards need to exist in your trash, and milling in Wixoss is not the most difficult thing to do in the world. Mm-mm. This combo has also existed since set 1 came out.
Old.
I know, and I knew about it. I just didn't like it. and so I didn't test it. But Deus is new. Deus has one of the best cards in the format, which is Baphomet, and Baphomet mills. So, and Deus brings things back from the trash to your hand. So, arguably, the stage is the most set for a mill-based combo for you to be able to pull it off now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It didn't really exist before. Yeah, you could kind of do it with Madoka, but meh. You could kind of do it with Sambaka, but meh. Anyways, getting to it. Piedmon, Doomed Evil. It's a level 2 black Signy that has 5,000 power, and it's got an auto ability. Whenever the Signy attacks, you may put a Signy on your field to the owner's trash. If you do, target a Signy on your opponent's field gets negative 5,000 until end of turn. Right? There's the first one. You sacrifice a Signy. When it's attacking, you give something negative 5,000. It's like, on its own, probably a bad Hera, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're not paying for it, but you're opening up a lane for your future turns. Not super great. There's also a level 3 called Kawasaki, Code Maze, level 3 black Signy. It's got 12,000 power. Its life burst is that you can add target Signy without a guard from your trash to your hand, which is notable in the fact that you can potentially put together combo pieces if this is in your life cloth.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Its enter ability, not relevant here. We're not going to talk about it. Its auto ability is whenever the Signy is put into your trash by a cost or your effect, right? You may pay colorless. If you do, you can put target level 2 black Signy from your trash to the field downed. The downed part's important. So, if you have this and you have Piedmon, you can attack with Piedmon, you can sacrifice this, you can pay an enter, you can take a level 2 out of your trash, put it onto the field, downed.
Mm-hmm.
It fills your lane, still not a great deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in Wixoss, it's okay. If you're doing a really cool combo, sometimes you can play bad cards that are terrible cards on their own, but when played together are super strong, and it's a good enough payoff, right? The sum of the parts. We talked about that in the deck super types, super archetypes thing.
Check out that podcast after this one.
Then there's Marie Gondo. It's one of the virtual Signies, level 2.
Marie Kondo?
Gondo, I think is what its name is. I don't know.
Does it spark joy?
It sparks joy.
Marie. Is that what that's?
Maybe.
That's her name, right? Okay.
It's got an enter ability. You got to pay specifically black. You may put the top 3 cards of your deck into the trash. Then you can put target level 1 virtual, very specific, a level 1 virtual Signy from your trash into the field.
Mm-hmm.
So already that's super, super specific. But the idea here, now we're putting it all together, right, is you attack with Piedmon, you sacrifice the Kawasaki, you pay an enter, you put this Marie Gondo into play downed, you pay another enter, that gets you back Sister Claire. Sister Claire has another enter ability that's super not relevant, has a good life burst that stops an attack and lets you draw a card, but its enter ability is up target virtual on your field.
And which virtual would that be?
Probably the Marie Gondo, which is going to be entered to the field down, allowing you to attack again. So when you put this combo together, and this is your roof, guys, is that your opponent doesn't know what you're doing, and that you put something in the open lane, right? You have an open lane there, and then you attack. They get rid of it, so now you have an open lane. Because in order to perform this combo, you actually need an open lane.
Mm-hmm.
You attack with the Kawasaki. It's 12,000 power, so if it was attacked through an open lane, cool, you just got a life crush. That's great. If it was blocked, 12,000 probably kills anything in its way, right? Then you attack with the Piedmon. You give whatever's in front of the Piedmon negative 5,000, allowing you to attack the opponent directly again. And you sacrifice the Kawasaki. You bring back the Marie Gondo. Use the Marie Gondo to bring back Sister Claire. You use the Sister Claire to up your Marie Gondo. Now you have 2 more attacks in front of you. You probably opened the way with the Kawasaki if there was a thing blocking, and you can get more life cloth damage, right? If everything goes right, you can attack 1, 2, 3, 4 times
from your field.
From your field. That's an important one, right? Can't guard that. And maybe gained 4 life cloth damage, right? And you've only spent 2 enter to do.
Mm.
And you made them maybe waste
End of
an
turn.
assist or something, right?
Yeah, because these aren't spells. Never mind.
so if that happens, wow, that's awesome. 2 enter for 4 damage is insane.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, you need the opponent, 1, to not interact the right way. Because in my round 1, I did interact the right way. I got rid of the Piedmon. And then the game just didn't go any forward anymore. Like, I just won that game.
Yeah, because you saw it coming.
You also need your opponent to basically not have out a wall field, right? 12,000, 12,000, 10,000. Now suddenly you're not really doing very much damage, right? You're doing maybe 1 damage, and 2 enter for 1 damage is fine. It's just a lot of hoops to jump through in order to do it.
Yeah.
You need to mill, and you have to mill correctly or enter correctly. Sometimes it can get wacky and out of order. And you need to... Yeah, if you have all of the things end up right, then what you end up with is a pretty clunky combo that can do quite a bit of damage, but costs 14 card slots in your deck. That's a lot. That's a lot.
It's a lot when you're thinking about it being a 40-card deck with 20 of those hopefully being life bursts.
Right.
So if you're taking up 14 slots and what was it, Sister Claire as a life burst?
Right. I know that I'm going to sound like a optimalist over here, right? Instead of a viabilist, which I am about to sound like an optimalist over here. Mm-hmm. For the same rate, I could also play Hera and not jump through any of those hoops, and I would still be able to do some amount of damage. And I could also play Trigger Victory or the Double Assassin, or I could play Deus's, just use Deus's souls to do removal, right? Like there's ways that you can make this combo work. And I think the best way to make this combo work is to very minimize how many slots you're putting into the deck for it, which would be something like 1 Sister Claire, 1 Miri, maybe 2 Paimons, and maybe 2 Kawasakis, right? That's 2,
Well, then you're not...
3, 2, 4, 5, 6. So it's like 6 altogether.
Yeah, but then you're not really building that combo to the deck.
Not.
It's
No.
really just like a, if this happens...
I would only use that as a, well, if I get into the late game, I can use this as a late game damage push. Right? Like, I'm not actively working on this combo. In the same way that your Ott deck does not actively enter charge to get to Ott's big ability.
It just kind of happens.
It just kind of happens naturally.
I guess so. So what's your final thoughts on the combo?
I wouldn't play it. I think it's cool. I think it's meme. If you want to live the meme dream, go for it. It's just, I don't think it's super great. Now, if you give me something that says Paimon's effect can do something with a level 2, and the level 2 naturally has something built into it where it comes back from if it was used as the trash, if you trashed it during your turn or something like that, and it was a 2-card combo, I'd be more solid, because suddenly you're telling me this Piedmon is not just a okay Hera, which, by the way, Hera is an okay Lancelot, so it's saying something. You're saying suddenly that it's like, yeah, pretty much the same as Hera in this type of black deck. I'd be more on board with it.
Okay, cool. And that's the Piedmon combo. Thank you for your comments in the comment section down below.
Yeah, in my round 7, I stopped it immediately. Like I just my assistant didn't allow it to go down. I knew what was going to happen, so I just didn't allow it. And they pulled it off again on the following turn. But it just was like, I just shielded. I had the enter at that point. I just used Deus Shield, and it really didn't do much to me. Or at least I think they could have. It's just they did the math and realized it wasn't going to kill me anyways.
Yeah.
So they didn't pull it off. I think that's what happened. I didn't take notes for the last round. But yeah, it ended up. I didn't think it was super amazing. But if you want to surprise people at your locals, I think you can do it. I think you could do it if you're playing Deus mid-range and you're like, you know what, I play Tamago a lot. These games are going to go a little long. I'm just going to do this to be like, no, the game's ending now. And it's like, use it as an I win button. That's fair.
Okay. Cool.
I just wouldn't go a whole ham into it.
Right.
With being like I think
with it being like the core of your deck.
Yeah. If you wanted to reliably do this, you needed 4 Piedmon, 4 Kawasaki, 3 Miras, and 2 Sister Clairs. That's the right way to do it if you wanted to reliably get it off every single game on turn 3.
All right. Do we have anything else?
No.
Any closing thoughts?
No.
Okay. I do.
Yes.
There was somebody on the leaderboard that's name was Autumn. And I have to ask, Autumn, is that you? Because if that's you, I'm so proud of you. Well done. But yeah, I just thought I'd ask. But anyways,
Autumn being one of our listeners.
Yeah, Autumn is a fellow selector. But that's it from us, guys. Thank you so much for listening to our tournament arc. Please remember to grow your level 3 Lyrig, and may you always flip a life burst. Subscribe. Bye.
Bye.